Sunday night is here with us once again, and that could only mean one thing. Scorecard is back on our screens. Now, the AFCON is rolling by really nicely. I don't know about you out there. I don't want this AFCON to end. It's been simply the best football tournament I can remember in recent memory. And we've raised the bar for the Euros. The Euros better show up because this AFCON has had everything from the heroics of Ronwen Williams saving 4 penalties. When was the last time you remember a goalkeeper saving 4 penalties in a major tournament? Or is it the robust nature of Nigeria's Super Eagles? They are through to the semi-final. The DRC are also doing their own thing. And then Cote d'Ivoire, after losing by 4 goals to 0 in the group stage and winning just 1 game over 90 minutes, some way, somehow, are in the semi-finals as well. When you go to the English Premier League, the title race has been blown wide open. Arsenal Football Club made light work of Liverpool at the Emirates. Manchester United are having their own bits of fun. Garnacho mimicking Mohamed Kudus, making fun of him a little with that sitting on the billboard celebration. So there's a lot to chew on. There's a Madrid derby happening as we speak currently. Lots and lots to chew on as far as weekend sports is concerned. Let's take a quick turnaround. When we come back, I'll introduce my guest for today, and then we'll get the show on the road. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Citi TV. My good friends here in the studio, Dennis Nyako and Coach Christopher Nimley. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Benjamin.
What's the weekend been like? What have you guys been up to?
Oh, personally, it's been a wonderful weekend.
Yeah.
No two ways about that. Because the quality of the football from the AFCON, we all thought that once most of the big guys were out of the tournament, the quality would dip.
Nope.
But surprisingly, it's gotten even better.
It's gotten better, really.
For those of us who eat and drink football all our life, that is what we want to see.
Yeah.
And one thing that I did realize is the fact that we had countries who haven't won the cup paired against those who've done so before. And unfortunately for those who have never won the cup, they all got booted out of the tournament. And now we are left with those who are in one way or the other, have won the cup. Cote d'Ivoire have got 2 titles, Nigeria 3 titles, Congo I think 1 or 2 titles, South Africa 1 title. So it is clear that, again, is one of the countries who knows how to win the cup, who will be in the, who definitely lift it up. So I've enjoyed every bit of it. And of course, we are back fully with our EPL games.
True.
And I really did enjoy yesterday and then today's game as well.
Well, I did enjoy today's game, but that's a conversation for another part of the show. Dennis, what's been up this weekend?
If you're a proper football fan, okay, there's no way this weekend would be boring, because you had AFCON dish being served.
Yep.
You had EPL desserts.
Liverpool,
if you watch the Newcastle Luton game,
oh boy,
explosive
that
game.
That was
crazy.
Yep.
And then you come to today, and you were served with some nice EPL buffet.
There's Inter Milan Juventus even happening as we speak.
Exactly.
So lots to chew on.
Oh yeah, sure. So
let's get right into it. Let's get into the highlights right away. Let's start off with the AFCON, and we'll begin with that game between Nigeria and Angola. Then we'll give you DRC versus Guinea as well. So back-to-back highlights. Coach Nimley will be on the tactical boards to explain some things, especially with the Nigeria game. Let's enjoy the highlights. Let's get to the tactical board now, and let's talk about Nigeria versus Angola. Really tight game. Angola hitting the upright once, also denied at point-blank range early in the game. Nigeria, though, did not have a lot of chances, but they were super efficient, depicted in that sequence where Ademola Lookman finished off that chance. Coach is on the board. Coach, let's talk about this particular goal and what exactly is going on in this particular scenario.
It came down to this. We've gotten to the knockout stages of the tournament where it's about the fine margins. If you don't do your things well, you get punished, and you wouldn't have enough time or any time at all to make sure you restore parity. Now, if I play this, I'll play it and let it go, and then I'll highlight 3 moments. 3 moments. Okay, so it is going. This is to get everybody to look at it again before I start highlighting my moment. Everybody watch this. If you are a fullback or if you are any defender, the basic principles of defending is simple. Make sure at all time you stay on your feet. I believe if I'm to do the tactical analysis of how Angola considered this goal, this is the defender I am blaming all day. I'm blaming this particular defender here. This one. The one who this guy. The question is, if you look at where the ball is, this is the movement of the ball. The ball clearly is moving this way. Why him and Simon, who's got very good advantage on the ball, clearly is the defender. Why did he go down? He's the best person to explain that. If I'm his manager, just after that move, I take him off. Because look, you see, there are basic principles.
You don't dive into a tackle like that. You don't.
And once you go down, you should make sure you touch the ball. Now, if I roll this again, why did he do that? Now, stop it again. Once we stop, look at the huge gap he has created. By going down, he's put this player, sorry, let me go back here. He's put this player and this player in an uncomfortable situation. Now look at the movement of Victor Osimhen. Osimhen clearly knew that Simon has got acres of space in front of him. So what he needed to do now is to attack this very area here. And by so doing, the two defenders are aware that Osimhen have seen the gap, so he was going to attack it. So if I roll this, as Osimhen go, look at, they are watching Osimhen. Let me pause it again. I'm pausing it because of the intelligent movement of this time. Not only Osimhen again, but Ademola Lookman. Look at Lookman. Look at the gap there. He clearly...
And actually, even before you go on, he was indicating when Simon was coming all the way that
I am the better option.
I'm going into the space.
I'm the better option. And for me, if you're a young player, because we are just trying to explain the tactical movement, if we had gone back further, you would have seen the intelligent movement of Ademola Lookman. He was somewhere around this area, and his movement took him straight into the box. Not wide, but diagonally into the space. And he knew that once Simon executed the pass, all he needed to do was to hit the target. And he just didn't try to hit the target. He knew the goalkeeper will be following the ball. So again, like we normally say, return the ball back to where it came from. Because naturally, the goalkeeper, as you see, will move, then put it on his blind side, bang into the back of the net. So three very important tactical advice. If you are a defender on a 1v1 situation, please do not go down. Look, John Terry, Carvalho, Sergio Ramos, Ferdinand, Vidic, Maldini. These are Chiellini. Have you ever seen Chiellini go down? No. Barely. They would normally stay on their feet. Because it is when, if this defender had stayed on his feet, what would he have done? He would have pushed Simon further and further away from goal onto the touchline, which gives him an absolute advantage. I've always been saying something that if you're a defender on the touchline, you always have the advantage because the striker or the forward player having the ball can only navigate 180 degrees. If he goes beyond that, he naturally takes the ball outside for a throw-in. So again, the Angolan defender who dived into the tackle was the reason why they lost the game. And credit must be given to the Super Eagles. At this stage, you make a mistake, you get punished. That is the level of the game.
I love particularly Lookman's movement because it might look easy, but you need to really arrive at the perfect time, at the perfect moment to actually make that goal happen.
And look, and another thing that made it even more beautiful, he struck the ball
with his weaker foot.
With his weaker foot. That is the technicality. That is how technically good Ademola Lookman is. And look, he's had a wonderful tournament.
He has.
It's like since they got to the knockout stage or when he needed the player to step up in that round of 16 in this game, he stepped up. He's got this very telepathic understanding with Simons and Osimhen, and they are working together as a unit. And that is what, as a coach, you can only ask for from your front man.
Coach, not to cut you, but you know, if you look at this sequence, you realize that in the first error by the defender for
the one who dived into the tackle.
So you go past it. In this current situation, don't you feel that the Angolan defense could have been better in this situation? Because you could see there are 4 Angolan defenders here.
Yes, you see, there were 4. But the fact of the matter is, only these two are behind the ball.
Sure.
All these guys you see here, they are non-existent. Because they are all in front of the ball. So for the fact, and look at the movement of Lookman. Lookman had the beating of these two already.
Yep.
And if you look at the position of these two here, they couldn't have occupied the gap here.
Yeah.
So it was about Simon picking the right pass into the right area.
I think Dennis is asking this because, one, this is a frozen picture.
Yes.
So it gives you
a different kind of
a different perspective to see what could have been.
If you move it along, they were all in front of
in real time. Everything happens very quickly.
And then you get punished. So good goal by the Nigerians. If you're a defender, stay on your feet. Basic defensive principle.
Big advice from coach there. Stay on your feet as a defender. Let me talk to Dennis real quick on the Super Eagles and what you've liked about what they've done, especially in this knockout phase. This was really smash and grab. Not the prettiest of football. No. In the end, they got the job done.
Yeah. You know, if I try to go back to last week, I did say, I think you asked me about whether you thought Angola could do, could edge them out. And I said that yes, I thought Angola had what it took. But then I did mention that Nigeria had experience. Yeah. And I felt that when it mattered most in the knockout round, I felt that Nigeria could edge it, and they did exactly that. But I think that I'll give credit to Jose Peseiro. I think he did. I feel he actually watched this Angolan side and mapped out a strategy for them. And that's what happened. When you watch the game, I know coach may give a tactical perspective, but I realized that in this particular game, he went for the three back and tried to have a congested midfield. Yeah. So then what happened is that he managed to stifle.
They played a 3-5-2 actually.
So he managed to stifle Gelson Dalla. There was no Mambulu.
Basically, they were non-existent in the game.
We couldn't find Freddie anywhere. Yeah. So you watch the game, and I asked myself, is it the same Angola side you watched some few weeks ago? But it's just strategy. And I think that kind of fluidity up front helped them because they managed to stifle them in midfield, but it was down to what Nigeria could do. And that is what they actually did because the mobility of Simon, the mobility of Osimhen, the mobility of the third striker up front. Ademola Lookman was something that they just couldn't handle. And I felt Onyeka and Iwobi did a lot of work in midfield. And you see, there's one thing I want to highlight. That we talk about the tactical dispensation of the coach, why I feel that Jose Peseiro did a good job. But I feel that, give credit to these Nigerian players. I think they showed desire. Yeah. Because if you see the number of times Lookman went tracked back, look at the number of times Iwobi worked hard. This is a team that wanted to win something. They wanted to win the game. They actually accepted the fact that Angola was a decent side. They knew how to play the ball better. So what did they do? They tried not to give them too much time on the ball. And that is what worked for them. I feel credit to the coach. He got the strategy spot on. People say that Victor Osimhen doesn't seem to be scoring goals. But what I've realized is that he's occupying the opposing defenders.
His work has been more valuable than scoring goals. I love that you're highlighting this fact because, look, it's very easy to have a very talented team in terms of names on the pitch, names on the paper, but it will get onto the pitch and everybody's playing for themselves. Nobody's playing for it. But like you're saying, Osimhen has not cared about not being the guy scoring the goals.
You see, it's about Nigeria, and he's a proper number 9.
Yeah.
And number 9 who is not only eager to put the ball in the back of the net, but he's also ready to work for his teammates in and around him to benefit from his effort. He's putting his body on the line. He's even hustling the defenders than they are even hustling him.
True.
And for me, Osimhen is that type of forward striker who reminds me of Didier Drogba. Yes, you are there to tackle, but he's also going to make sure you also do the job. And for me, look, his all-round play has been absolutely brilliant, especially in their last 2 games. He's been super good.
Yeah. Victor Osimhen really doing God's work for Nigeria there. Let's just roll the DRC versus Guinea highlights very briefly. We'll touch on it and then we'll go to the South Africa game. So let's just have those highlights from DRC and Guinea while we discuss that game. Coach, let me just stay with you on that one. DRC winning by 3-1, showing their quality. They are through to the semi-finals as well. They've scored from free kicks. They've scored from wing play. They've really shown us like a full array of what they can do as a team.
You see, there's one thing I have learned from them. Maybe when required to build up into putting the ball in the back of the net, they are not good at that. Rather, they are looking at the team that is going to always maximize their set pieces and hoping that they'll get the spot kick and then put in the back of the. Apart from that first goal they scored against, was it Zambia, where in my view, I believe that was one of the very best team's goals we have seen, where you've got a proper midfielder understanding the off-the-ball movement, a recycle movement of the striker into his path, passing it across and somebody just coming in to tap the ball in. They have shown that defensively they are solid. They are also a team that doesn't seem to give too much away in the defensive third. Packing people in the midfield and relying on the workaholic instinct of their forward guys to put pressure on the team whenever they try to transit into their half. Against Guinea, to be honest with you, I was very much concerned about them because of their wasteful nature in front of goal. But look at how they score their goals. From very unlikely sources. Their captain from a set piece, Masuaku, brilliant from a dead ball. And then the last, I think that was the second goal that came from a penalty. Credit must be given to the player who picked the ball far in his half, saw the space, attacked the space, and made sure he got the penalty for his side. What they have as an advantage, I think they will be playing Côte d'Ivoire. Is the fact that the Ivorians will not bully them physically. Defensively, they look a better team than Côte d'Ivoire. But the Côte d'Ivoire team too are showing that, look, when the stage is high, they understood that they were half dead.
They played over 70 minutes with one man down.
Maybe they were in a coma. Half dead, but not dead.
We'll come to Côte d'Ivoire. I'll come to them in a bit so we can expatiate on them properly. Let's get on to more highlights and let's check out that one between South Africa and Cape Verde. That game went all the way to penalties, and then South Africa, Ronwen Williams. It really was his show. It was his performance. Let's get to the highlights of that one. So Ronwen Williams breaking the hearts of all those pretty women from Cape Verde there. And I must say that the AFCON production team are really doing the Lord's work, you know. That's how coach likes his things.
Of course.
Highlighting on all the great things in the stands.
It is very important to keep our excitement watching the game. Occasionally, they identify those people in the stand and zoom them.
Zoom in on them.
In fact, we are grateful to God for putting such people on the screen.
Thank you very much.
It's very important.
Thank you very much.
So back to the football.
Let's get back to the football. Coach, let me start with Dennis on this one. I mean, look, I'm being serious. I didn't think South Africa would make it to this point. They've really been my surprise package of the tournament. The resilience, the chance creation, the chemistry they've played with as a team. But I didn't think I would see a goalkeeper saving 4 penalties to take his team through. How important is this for them, and how much does that help them going into the next stage? Because you might not be able to take the game all the way to penalties.
Honestly, I think I share your opinion. I'm equally surprised by how far they've gone. Even in this game, I seem to wonder how they survived through the sequence. From the first half, the onslaughts. Because if you watch this game from a neutral point of view, you realize that
Cape Verde played all the football.
They dominated. They played all the football. They had all the chances. But South Africa, for some reason, they just know how to stay in the game. And you watch the game against Morocco. They did the same thing. They were basically bombarded in the second half, consistently in the second, and they just found a way to stay in the game. And that is something that I observed about them. So watching them against Cape Verde, I thought that after watching the first time and seeing how Cape Verde dictated pace, you could also see that as much as Cape Verde were dominating the game, South Africa were not completely out because they were always looking up for the pockets of spaces, trying to counter-attack on several occasions. But big ups to South Africa. I think you have to commend their resilience. I think that for what Cape Verde threw at them and how they still managed to stay in that game for that long into the penalty session, I was like, wow, how are they able to do it? But you see, there's one thing I also took notes of with the Cape Verde team. I just feel that from the coaching point of view, I think that some of the changes were a bit rushed. Because I've watched that Cape Verde team, I realized that there's always been this sequence of changes at that part of the game where it's always more like the business end of the game where the coach always does his template change, taking out Rodriguez, taking out Brian Mendes. But I feel that these guys are quite experienced, and I thought that he could have maintained Brian Mendes for some time to see if a chance would have come for him to finish it. But I think that it just didn't work out. But I'll give so much credit to South Africa for what they've done, because this is a team that has 90% of the team in South Africa. And there are a lot of players from Mamelodi Sundowns. And it's a team that plays proper football. You see, the sad part, when I sit here and I watch these games, I'm like, I ask myself, how has the Black Stars become so bad? Because you see, you watch South Africa, you watch Cape Verde, you watch Mozambique, you watch There's a sequence of football.
Everybody's playing some good football. Everybody has a pattern or identity to their game.
Everybody's playing football to some pattern, and that's what South Africans have done. They've just managed to find a way to play. They've realized that they are not the most flamboyant, so they're actually playing to their strength. So what they do is that to absorb the pressure and then find a counter attack.
Moments.
And that is it, and take their moments. But big ups to the goalkeeper. I think Williams did it. I don't know last time I don't think I've watched a game where the goalkeeper saved 4 penalties out of 5. I don't remember when I watched that.
Absolute crackers.
So the heroics were great. He has managed to send the South Africa team to the next.
Talk to me about game management, just briefly before we take our first break. South Africa, like Dennis mentioned, at the point in the game, you think they are going to lose the game. Some way, somehow, they managed to hang around just enough to drag the game all the way to penalties, and then they unleash their goalkeeper.
You see, they have, first and foremost, they have been properly coached. They have been properly coached, especially without the ball. Because if you look at, they are not using the ball well. They tend to do lots of turnovers because they tend to, their midfielder, McQueen, 1-2, he wants to go long. And anytime he goes long, yes, okay, most often than none, he doesn't get the pass right. But what actually stands out for them is the fact that without the ball, they are a difficult team to break down. They understand that they have a very good goalkeeper. That is why it is so important that you don't compromise when it comes to certain department. They are very much aware how good William is as a goalkeeper. So even under pressure, they are able to give the ball to him. And you know, one unique part about William, which most people are not looking at, is the ease with which he distributes the ball with his feet. He's also very, very, he's a modern day goalkeeper. Very good handling, and then very good with his feet. This South African team, like I said, is being properly coached without the ball. Because anytime in this game, we watched Cape Verde come at them. Fundamentally, they were always, all the time, outnumbering Cape Verde in their half, which meant that they had what is called proper defensive line cover. You beat this person,
there's a layer beyond there.
There's a layer. So at every time the only time where I believe one pass got them sleeping was in the 90th minute. And that is what a good goalkeeper will bring to you, isn't it? That world-class save.
When the defense is beaten, he will be there.
The commentator we rightly heard said, Williams is beaten. But he didn't know William had a very strong hand on the ball that carried the ball onto the post. And then he just looked at the speed with which he woke up. And then when the ball bounced, he was there to what? Make the second save. He knew that he had touched the ball. And if only we couldn't see how over the moon he was. If you watch the game, when he got up and caught the ball, the extent of jubilation was there for everybody to see. As for Cape Verde, look, they've showcased themselves. This tournament, they have used this tournament to inform the rest of the continent that if you are paired up against them, you are guaranteeing one thing, that you are not going to have things your way, you are not going to have things very easy. South Africa has done so well. They have shown, I hope the people at the Ghana Football Association are watching. They have shown that if you can do your league very, very well, domestically, if your league is that solid, you don't need to be crying out and going out there. We used to do these things about 20, 25 years ago. In the year 2000, when Hartlepool was this dominant,
you could lift Hartlepool and put them in a black
and they'll play. So what has gone wrong? Please go back to the basics and let's begin to do our game, because this is a back five belonging to what? Sundowns. The goalkeeper and the front four and everybody in front of him, buffer, even the McQueen boy, he's for Sundowns. And if you look at the way, they don't panic and they are there committed, working for each other. When one person commits a mistake, the other person just goes in there to solve it. And the thumbs up is thrown at you and you admit that I was at fault, let's continue working. And look, I like the calmness of their coach, isn't it? Hugo Bruce. He's shown that
he's won it before.
He's an experienced manager.
He's won it before. He's all business. He knows that, look, this is how it's done at this stage. No need to panic.
And when the goalkeeper saved that final penalty, He dodged everybody. He said,
went
give me
straight to the
way.
goalkeeper.
I need to hug my manager.
He's properly coached.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how it is. South Africa doing the business there. We'll take a break here. When we come back, we have that game featuring Cote d'Ivoire there for you. Cote d'Ivoire, Mali was heartbreak for the Malians who looked for large spells like they were going to run all over the Ivorians. It didn't happen. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll get into that. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Citi TV. We'll have the text and WhatsApp lines on your screen for you so you can text into the show. Tell us who you think will be winning this AFCON. Yes, tell us who you think will be winning the AFCON. Your biggest surprise package of the competition so far as teams are concerned. Which player has caught your eye again as far as the AFCON is concerned? Let's get to that game between Mali and Cote d'Ivoire, where Cote d'Ivoire some way, somehow looked like they were dead and out, but managed to find a goal literally the final play of the game, 120th minute, when the game looked like it was heading to penalties. Heartbreak for Mali once again. Let's get the highlights of that game. Heartbreak for Mali, really. But this has been their story, Coach. Mali, they confused me with how they approached this game mentally, especially towards the end.
On this one,
Yeah.
I've looked at it over and over again. The coach will have to accept the blame. And you could clearly see at the end of the game, he
I wish we have the visuals there where
where
they were pouring water on his head.
Actually,
you could clearly see.
the gasket is big.
Yeah, you see, you could clearly see that.
His brains were hot.
Yeah, he
was overthinking.
He Look, he went through unnecessary overthinking. Why am I saying so? They started the game brilliantly. They were by far the better side. They imposed themselves. They had youth on their side. In midfield, they had younger players who were running route. Look, Kessie, Fofana, and is it Sari? They couldn't live with the boy from RB Leipzig. I'm forgetting his name. Haidara and his partner in midfield. They couldn't live with them. They missed the penalty. So be it. And then the red card came. And then we did the game on radio. And I said, look, I believe they'll go on and score. Once they scored the first goal, they'll go on and score the second goal. Now, this is what the coach did. And it was shocking to me. 10v11. You scored a brilliant goal. And then all of a sudden, you decided to take off your number one striker, who at the time was given the entire Ivorian defenders complete nightmare. You took him off. And then what that meant was that you were now going to invite that. Because look, at that stage, if you are losing the game, you are exiting the tournament. There isn't any second opportunity to get the time to fix things. Now, this is what Cote d'Ivoire coach did. So, like I'm saying, two coaches, one properly thought through the situations and came to the aid of his team and allowed the boys to go and what? Do their job. The other one too, in overly thinking through the situation, kept weakening not only his personnel on the pitch, but tactically, he kept doing things that invited the Ivorians onto them. You and I know that once the red card came, the Ivorians coach took off Pepe and introduced the chap who scored the winning goal.
Adingra.
No, not Adingra.
Jakite, yeah.
And then he did another substitution of Ore and then brought on Sebastian Haller. That tactical switch, in my view, was brilliant. But it also made the Ivorians very predictable. Predictable in the sense that under pressure, they had an outlet. Now, if you're a coach out there, this is what was shocking to me. Anytime there's an obvious outlet, somebody who is big and is a target man, there's a way to mark the person in the air. You don't go 1v1 with the person standing in front of the defender who is marking him. Normally, you have to put the person in between two defenders. So one defender stands in front of him and the other behind him, and then you keep him in the middle. Which means that most often than not, he will end up fouling the one who is in front of him, and then you break every form of rhythm that they want to use going through him. Again, with about, I think, 2 minutes to go, when Cote d'Ivoire eventually equalized, the goalkeeper had the ball. And you could clearly see the Malians backpedaling. When you do that, you are telling the man that if he hit the ball very high into your half. It's about who wins the second ball.
Yeah.
So again, they targeted Alier. They went to him. He won the ball in the air, and the ball broke for Adingra. Adingra, once he got into the box, very nimble-footed.
Very long legs.
Any leg challenge, the referee at that stage was ready because you are playing against the host nation.
Any late challenge, they take a penalty.
He takes that. And then fundamentally, Cote d'Ivoire scored. And to me, I think that was a brilliant team effort. But again, you have to blame the Malian coach. Well, this is what I would have done. When they are that predictable, going route one, coming long to Haller, when there's a son, the goalkeeper, what can he do? He was not going to pass though. Why go back? Come on, everybody, push up. We call it push up. You push up or you push the line further and allow your goalkeeper enough space to come forward so that if there's any loose ball, he comes and then what? He picks it up. The Malian coach didn't do that. Again, in that extra time, instead of him to get them to control the game, rather the Ivorians were the better team in the extra time. 10v11, they were now buzzing. Look, they were using their physique. Something that we didn't see in the entire 90 minutes of the game. All of a sudden, in extra time, they are in charge of the game. They are using their physique, and the Malians couldn't cope. And at some point in time, the Malians they were rather the team playing for the penalty kicks.
That was shocking to me.
That was shocking to me. I said, goodness me. If I'm the coach of this team, 10v11, with the quality, don't forget, look, I told you.
And they had shown all throughout the game their superior quality.
They are superior. I told you, I'm worried for the Black Stars in June. Clearly, we need to put our house in order, or else that June encounter against Mali will mean we are not qualifying for the
have
World
an
Cup.
even bigger incentive to win now because they've been booted out of the AFCON.
Exactly. They look at that group and say, look, a group of Ghana, Comoros, with Ghana not performing too well, their direct rival is Comoros, and they are yet to play them. I think if they can get their acts together, they can beat Comoros home and away and qualify. So the Malian coach, solely to be blamed, because he didn't manage the game well. And when I saw the water being poured,
the gasket is burning
onto his bald head, I was asking myself, look, you caused this.
Yeah, his brains were hot.
His demeanor clearly told everybody that
he knew it was on him.
He tactically did the wrong thing.
Man. Well, at this point in the tournament, it's all about game management, how you manage the game. Cote d'Ivoire played over 70 minutes of football with a man down. Some way, somehow, they managed to sail through to the next round. That's resilience, really. If there's ever, a scenario to depict how mentally tough a team is. Let's get now to some foreign stuff. Let's get to the Premier League. Let's start off with that game between Everton and Tottenham Hotspur. Tottenham still, some way, somehow, managing to bottle results. They looked like they were going to win this game, found a way to throw it away very late. Let's get the highlights of this one. Absolute dagger of a header there to even the score in that particular one. Then his quick thoughts on Tottenham. It was only yesterday when they were unbeaten, or the only unbeaten team in the league, going really strong. They look all over the place mentally. I don't know what has happened with them, but this is a game they should have won.
Listen, I've always maintained that as a team, you should always find a balance as a coach of knowing what your philosophy is, and then at the same time trying to get results in games. I think Angie is not really finding that balance, and he keeps on making Spurs play in a very expressive manner, which of course is pleasing to the fans and everybody.
Yep.
But there are games that you have to find a way to just win.
Because they were up 2-0 in this
Exactly.
game.
It's just about trying to getting pragmatic about it. And like you said, in a game where Richarlison, who has been going on several dry spells,
gets two goals.
And
somehow they don't win the game.
They're not able to win the game. And I'm like, because you see, if you're not really able to find that balance in games, then you'll be pegged back. And I've maintained that yes, you want Spurs to play in a certain manner, but at the same time you have to find a way to conserve, because it's not the first time this has happened.
Nope.
And it happens consistently. So if you really want to win the title, you want to play in the top 4, you have to find a way to win games. And there's a reason why earlier on in the season I kept on bashing a coach like Company, because I felt like he wanted to play in a certain way, but he didn't have the players to play like that.
He was insisting on playing that way.
It doesn't make sense, because at the end of the day, you need to get results. And if you don't get results, it's all about getting the points and actually going forward. So I don't know. I think they are missing Son as well. He's not in. He adds a lot to that front line.
Yeah.
And as much as Richarlison was able to get 2 goals, I think they could have still scored more. They are missing Bissouma as well. So that is why I thought that there was a need to be pragmatic.
Missing Saad, you're missing Bissouma.
Exactly. So you have to take note of all of these deficiencies when you're managing the game. So I think Angie has to think about this. He has to find a way to find the correct balance so that they'll keep on dropping points.
Postecoglou says philosophy over results.
It doesn't make sense.
I don't even understand.
There's actually nothing wrong with that, but there's also everything wrong with that. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you find yourself in a profession that means that you'll be judged by the number of points you have at the end.
Especially in the Premier League where it's so competitive.
So, you see, look, what at all would he have lost if he had been a bit pragmatic in the last 10 minutes? By far, they were the better team. Quality-wise, they should have controlled the game better. But he felt that once they were 2-1 up, they needed to keep going. You see, there are times where you should read in between the lines and you need to be smart. I said, look, the day I saw Pep Guardiola being very pragmatic, that was when I admitted as a coach myself that, look, your philosophy, yes.
But results
once
matter
it is result-oriented, there are times where you need to be pragmatic.
Because when you win the game, nobody will care about how you won the game.
Because if City if he hadn't adapted, there's no way they would have won that Champions League.
Yes.
Because there were games that he had to find a way to be pragmatic. So if you don't get the balance right, you will just not get the results.
And I remember one of the games where Pep Guardiola actually altered his philosophy. Well, I think he started actually altering philosophy when Inter Milan beat Barcelona in the Champions League.
Exactly.
He was completely shackled. I mean, tiki-taka didn't work in that game. And from there on, he knew that he needed a plan B in matches. And so that's how it is. Let's go to Chelsea versus Wolves. Boy, is it depressing in that Chelsea camp. I want to know from Chelsea fans who are out there watching genuinely, do you think that this project will be successful? Do you genuinely think that this project will come to fruition? It looks like the Wolves fans, with about 30 minutes to go, were singing, "You are going to be fired in the morning" to Mauricio Pochettino. I'm not even sure how that works, but the Wolves fans are telling Poch that he's getting fired in the morning. Chelsea fans, is that how you feel about the coach? How do you feel about the project? Let's get to the highlights of this one. When Matheus Cunha is having a field day against your defense, you know you are bad because Matheus Cunha is not clinical. Coach, that's the kind of game Chelsea were up against.
I don't remember the last time I saw Chelsea this bad. In a week, they've conceded, 8 goals in 2 games. Unacceptable. You may want to call it a project. You may want to say we have to be patient. For me, the bar can never be changed when it comes to certain teams. When Jurgen Klopp walked into Liverpool, immediately the scrutiny was on him. When Eric Ten Hag walked into Man United, immediately the scrutiny was on him. I don't know why Pochettino seems to be loved.
I feel like they've gone through a spell of sacking managers short term.
I'm not saying he should be sacked.
In the past couple of years. So maybe they don't want to apply the same method to him again because they are afraid it will become
a norm.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he should be sacked, but I think some of the defending and the shape of the team goes down to him. They are too easy to play through. Wolverhampton passing the ball through Chelsea without any difficulty.
This is a team that have Caicedo.
Midfielders
supposedly have one of the
Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez,
best DMs in the
protective league. DMs who will protect their back four.
So is that down to the coach or is down to the players?
It is down to the shape of the team. Because if we look at them, 2 of the goals meant that the Chelsea midfielders had to track the run of the Wolves players, meaning that they were in front of the ball and therefore had to track the runs. Once they were unable to do that, the guy was just putting the ball in the back of the net. One of them, yes, wicked deflection. But at the end of the day, when you are not that compact, this Chelsea team we saw them against Liverpool. One pass to a right back, left in acres of space, he controlled it, then he just planted the ball in the back of the net. We've seen that again today. Similar goal, but in this one, the guy had to pull the ball out for the on-rushing midfielder to put the ball in the back of the net. They have to find a way of stopping this. I said at the beginning of the season,
Yeah.
they will not make Champions League football. They will not make Europa Cup football. And nobody should be annoyed. When I said that, they didn't want to accept that. But at the end of the day, that is the true reflection of where the team is at the moment. This team will have to get
This
a
is
proper
a very serious reality you are trying to paint.
Yes, I said it.
It's not an easy pill to swallow.
You remember, I said it just after 2 games in the season. When I looked at them, I said, no, they will not make Champions League. They will not make Cup football. So they have to be patient. Would Mauricio Pochettino, would he have bought most of the players in this team? No. That is where I tend to sympathize with him. The owners at Chelsea
inherited
now,
players that he has to use.
The owners at Chelsea now will now change their way of doing things going forward.
Yeah.
Whoever they've spent money on, the problem is that they've spent good money. Whoever they spent money on who is not good enough, immediately count your losses, ship them out, and then listen to the manager and get him to identify players
that he wants.
Because this is Chelsea. They should be in and among the mix with teams who are competing for the title, competing for Champions League football. Minimum requirement is the Europa Cup. Anything apart from that, then the team is going down.
Yeah.
You cannot, as for Thiago Silva, I declare he will leave at the end of the season.
Yeah.
That is a huge vacuum that needs to be filled.
Because this defense is all over
Do
the
they
place.
have scouting? Or is Todd Bowley their top scout? From the way they've gone about their business, it's like he's the one doing all the scouting. You ask yourself, who is the one, or who
Todd
are
Bowley
the people
scouts.
recommending the players?
Todd Bowley
that
is
just-
the sporting director. Todd Bowley flies in to go and broker some of the deals
Yes,
even.
I wouldn't have bought the hairdresser. The man, Marlon Gustav. I've always complained that he always goes to the salon. He doesn't go to the barbering shop. He goes to the salon and gets his hair braided. When you are a player and you are concerned about braiding your hair, how can you focus on football? You cannot focus on football. So for me, look, Todd Bowley will have to put up a proper structure so that the money is there. No two ways about that. Get the best player or the right players in and allow this manager to work. But look, to have considered 8 goals in 2 games, especially 4 against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Wolves
Don't score 4 against anybody.
Acuna, is that the name?
Mateus Cunha.
Mateus Cunha.
He's so wasteful.
Zuku striker like that scoring 3 goals against Italy.
Double Zuku.
Let's take a break here on the show. When we come back, we have 2 more Premier League games to give you. We'll give you Manchester United versus West Ham, and then we'll give you the cracker for the weekend. Arsenal, Liverpool at the Emirates. So a lot to still chew on. We have more action from the Serie A, also from the Spanish La Liga. So a lot to chew on the show. Stay with us here on Scorecard. We'll be right back. Welcome to Scorecard here on Citi TV. We still have some Premier League highlights to give you. Let me go through some of your messages before Coach returns to the tactical board. This one here says, Chris Nimley should send his CV to the GFA for the Black Stars job. His analysis is always spot on. This is Said in Tamale coming through with this one. Godfred from Tema West says that great analysis on the AFCON competition so far. My only worry is how the Black Stars are giving my colleagues at work from Nigeria and SA the opportunity to tease me. For the sake of my boss, Nigeria should win. This one here is from Abeku from Budumburam. Says, all the games I've seen so far, the AFCON referees have been amazing. No VAR controversy, no poor game altering decisions, just pure class. Africa doing it better than the Premier League. This one says, hi Ben, enjoying the show as usual. My AFCON best player so far has been Ademola Lookman, with Seko Fofana closely behind him. Tenate from Oda with that one. This one also is from Adrian from Sakumono. Says, after conceding 2 against Mali and keeping 4 clean sheets in their subsequent 4 matches, South Africa have been the surprise package of the AFCON. With luck on their side, I think Ivory Coast will win the tournament. They are lucky to still be in the competition. I think that's very true. This one's from Starboy from La Paz. Shout out to Starboy from La Paz. Text into almost all our shows. He says, I think the Nigerian team will win the AFCON because they have a better squad, and I hope the GFA is watching by this time. I'm sure they are even asleep. He said the GFA is asleep by this time, Charlie. Very interesting thought. Let's get back to the Premier League. Let's get to Manchester United versus West Ham. Man United have been finding their feet lately. Some games have been shaky, but this was a proper dominant performance from them. Let's get the highlights. Alejandro Garnacho having himself quite the time on the pitch these days alongside Rasmus Højlund. So the youngsters doing it for Manchester United. So youngsters doing it for United, youngsters not doing it for Chelsea. It's just how it is. Coach, let's get to the board and see what's happening.
I think the difference between the youngsters doing it at United and not doing it at Chelsea, the youngsters at Manchester United are being guided by people like Varane, people like Carlos Casemiro, Bruno Fernandes.
Proper veteran leadership.
Proper leadership is there. Unlike what is at Chelsea, they have been allowed to do their own thing. Yes, Enzo Fernandez, absolutely brilliant in the World Cup. But he finds himself in a World Cup team that had Leo Messi, McAllister, De Paul, Di Maria. So as a young boy, he can fit into the chemistry and it will work. So we are going to highlight two of my United goals for the sake of time quickly. They are very simple. I think the important person to highlight here is Carlos Casemiro. You see, when a player understands his role, he becomes an untouchable. You just cannot do with him. So when this ball got recycled, look at that. Watch Casemiro. Pause there. He saw
Sense the danger.
the opportunity to win the ball. United at the time was on the attack. So his commitment was that if I can get this ball first in the midst of the West Ham players, watch it again. You see, when the ball got repelled by Zuma, look at it. He came there. He had no chance to win that ball. But he had to commit himself to the winning of the ball. And credit again might be given to what? Rasmus Højlund. You see, if you look at him, the entire West Ham defenders are aware that he's extremely what? Left-footed. He wouldn't want to come onto his right foot. So per his technical ability, they knew that once he had the ball on his left foot, he was going to what? Go for it. What a damn, look at it. He drags the ball and then bang into the back of the net. So again, if you're a young player out there, that is what some of us are constantly insisting on. As you develop the player,
learn how to use the weaker foot.
He should use
both feet.
Both feet. That is the only way he can become a better player. And if you're one-sided as a player, no coach in the modern game will look at you. You should be able to control and pass with your left, control and pass with your right, and occupy spaces with that. And that, in my view, was very, very brilliant. Now we move on to the Alejandro Garnacho first goal.
No, I think you've gone back to the Garnacho's first goal.
Garnacho first goal. Again, here, my fundamental issue had to do with the West Ham. Why is it not showing?
I think we have it here.
Wait. Okay, yes. Okay, now. Let go. Let it roll, and I'll show something. So, no, that is, I want his second goal rather. Sorry.
Let's get to the second goal.
I want his second goal rather.
Yeah.
Garnacho's second goal. That's right. Beautiful. Sorry. Beautiful. I want his second goal rather. Look, West Ham are in possession of the ball. What I don't get is the elementary error of Calvin Phillips. When the ball was given to him, he knew he was under pressure. So technically, the one who gave you the ball, give it back to, or he had Zuma to pass the ball to. But everybody watch. At the time of Calvin Phillips losing the ball, where was the West Ham left back, the Italian international? Shocking not to have seen him in the picture here. Where was he? He's now coming. Again, he finds himself again in front of the ball. But this is his space. This gap belongs to him. The gap as occupied by Garnacho. The gap here. Wait, one minute. Let me go for this one. Rather. This gap here. It's a huge gap. McTominay, simple, have to ensure that he picks the pass. I was very worried because he was the one in possession. He's not a good passer of the ball. And once he gave the ball to Garnacho, huge space in front of the man. And look at it, he just went across Fabianski. Again, if you are a forward liner and you are watching these games, it is clear that when you are in the box, it is very important. You are very calm, pick your spot, exactly Garnacho. He went across Fabianski, and that gave Fabianski no chance whatsoever. If you are a player, we are sure to communicate. You want to blame Calvin Phillips, but another tactical ploy that actually points out the fact that was he communicated to by the one who gave him the pass from the start. From here. Did he tell him what was behind him? Because he could see this player here could see.
I feel like that is
happening.
such an underrated part of the game. Communication on
It's
the
key.
pitch in
It's
terms
very
of
key.
watch your back.
Because
This guy is
normally
coming. Don't
they are
pass the ball to
exactly.
me. That
Normally
kind of
they
thing.
are told there's a man on you.
Yeah.
Or man on when you go outside. That is the expression they use. Man on means if your player gives it and you say man on, you're supposed to give it back to him because you cannot see from behind. So play it back to him and he has a better view on where to go next. So elementary comical error at this level, and it is proper. I've always said this. If you commit such errors at this level,
you will be
it is
punished.
proper, you get punished.
Let's get to another game. In fact, our game of the weekend between Liverpool or between Arsenal and Liverpool, because Arsenal, where the home side coach, will be taking us through tactical analysis of this. But let's check out the highlights first. So typically, the reliable Alisson Becker and Van Dijk, both committing errors today that were costly for Liverpool. Arsenal will not mind. 3-1. Coach, what are we highlighting?
We are just highlighting Arsenal's second goal.
Okay.
And I want to stress on the communication between Alisson and Van Dijk. Should Alisson have actually gotten himself involved in that? That I don't think so. Now, when you look at the ball, it's a routine pass from Magalhaes. It's a route one sort of football. At this stage, at this stage, who is in charge of that ball?
Van Dijk.
Clearly, it's Van Dijk.
Yeah.
Clearly, it's Virgil van Dijk. As to why Alisson decided to come out of his goalpost, he's the best person to explain that. If he chose not to come out, Van Dijk, at this stage, has his body in between
him,
the ball, and Martinelli. So he's in charge. Alisson decides to stay. If he decides to come back, Van Dijk gives him the ball. The move is recycled, and Liverpool are on the ascendancy. At this stage, it was 1-1. And we were doing the game on radio. At this stage, Liverpool looked the most likely team to score. They had established a certain rhythm that they were imposing themselves on the game. Arsenal, up to this stage, the 66th minute of the second half, hadn't gotten a shot on target yet. This was Arsenal's first shot on target. And it was a complete giveaway. So all that I'm saying is that if you're a goalkeeper, again, tactical, or if you're a goalkeeper, anytime you see your defender in a 1v1 situation, don't come and join in the chaos. Rather stay there and have a look at it. If your defender wins the battle, hooray. Because you are not involved in the chaos. If he loses the battle, then you have a better understanding on what to do next.
My thinking is this, just briefly. There's just something telling me that maybe Alisson feels like Martinelli will burn Van Dijk for pace. And so he will probably get ahead of him.
Look at the area he's covered to be where he is. The ball, as at this stage, is not in his box. The ball, again, is in between. Look at Van Dijk. He's a sensible defender. You could clearly see his left hand. He knew where Martinelli is blocking him off. So he's in charge. That is why he was bought for £76 million. He is that good. He is that intelligent. He knew the whereabouts of what Martinelli. So tactically, he's blocking him off. But this is what Martinelli also did. The moment he saw Alisson choosing to get involved in the chaos, he now just shoved Van Dijk a bit into the path of Alisson.
And they confused each other and gave the ball to him.
And there was a free ball to just roll into the back of the net. Look at that. Look at that. That is unacceptable. That is unacceptable. So again, look at it. Van Dijk, there's no way Martinelli is pushing Van Dijk in such a way that he gets in charge of this ball. No, it's not going to happen. So I think it was a complete giveaway. It was at the stage of the game where everything was very, very crucial. You needed to be spot on. You needed to get it right. And Alisson, again, you could clearly see it got to him because after this goal, he was never the same.
He was all over
no
the
wonder
place.
A goalkeeper of his caliber beating at his near post, nutmeg, wouldn't have happened on any other day. So if you're a goalkeeper, don't get involved if it is a 1v1. Wait to see what happens. Based on what happens, you have a better judgment to come in.
Dennis, let me come to you. So, I mean, have your take on the United-West Ham game and then touch on this game for me as well.
Okay, so I'll start from the West Ham game. I feel that David Moyes is paying for some of the mistakes he has done. I don't think he has fully maximized his squad. I kept on saying earlier on in the season that if you have a very big squad and you're not able to maximize it in terms of adversity, then you realize that the players that come in may not cope with the momentum. And he had consistently played a certain team for a very long time. And I said, even in the Europa games where he was supposed to give the chance to other players like Berama and Kone and all of those guys.
was playing.
He kept on playing consistently. Paqueta, Kudus, Bowen. Especially the moment Kudus came to that team and started firing, he's not had a rest. and you see, the season is
it's long.
It's long.
Yep.
And Paqueta was not being rested at. And I think that he's the most
influential player.
Exactly. And he's the most dynamic player in the team. So I felt that there were games that I felt that he could have actually given a rest to Paqueta and given a chance to other players to play in. And now he has a situation where Paqueta is on a long-term injury and he's not really gotten somebody in there that will fill the gap in such situations. And that's why they're suffering. And I feel for them the more because he's brought in Calvin Phillips, who is very rusty. He brought him in the Bournemouth game. He was a bundle of nerves. He was making mistakes everywhere. And then in this game, he decided to put him on the bench because he realized that the mistake he made against Bournemouth, he was not willing to repeat that. So he brought him in the second half. And you could see that the guy has not played football for a very long time.
Very obvious.
And you could see that he looks very rusty.
It's very obvious.
Exactly. And my issue, I want to understand why he got rid of Fornals and Berama. Because when I look at that West Ham bench, I don't see who is going to be coming
maybe there's the need to balance their books. That can be the only explanation.
Generally, that can be the only explanation.
And then I fear for them because you see they have Antonio who is actually injured.
Injury prone. Yep.
Today they played Ben Johnson on the right side. This tells you that they're actually struggling for creativity. And I'm wondering how they're going to cope in such situations because even as at now they still have Kudus, they have Bowen. They could have a situation where Kudus might get injured or even Bowen might get injured. So how are they going to cope in that situation? So I think for West Ham, they have a long way to go. I think they're going to have further struggles.
West Ham are struggling. Arsenal, though, have blown the title race wide open. Let's take a detour from the Premier League and let's get to the Italian Serie A. Let's do back-to-back highlights. We don't have too much time. Let's do Frosinone versus AC Milan, and we'll do Napoli versus Hellas Verona. So Napoli winning by 2-1. Rare win for them. They've been really patchy this season. Milan also getting a hard-fought win, 3-2. Just quick thoughts on those games, guys.
I think it is important that Milan in particular keep believing that they can put up a challenge, but it's looking like Inter Milan would definitely run away with it. I think holistically, as a team, they are the best team in the land. They are being coached by one of the very intelligent managers, Simeone, and I'm very confident that Inter Milan will go on to win it. For Napoli, look, it's going to take them another 30 years to win the title because this is a shambolic way of defending something that you hadn't won in 30 years until now.
Dennis, quick thoughts?
Yeah, for me, I believe Inter and Juve are in the running for the title. I think the most interesting part is who qualifies for the Champions League. I think those places actually are the places that I'm looking out for because for the league title, I think it's going to be between those two teams because they seem to be the strongest on paper and they have the best players. So even though I may slightly go in favor of Inter Milan, I think Juventus will not go away.
Let's do something, right? But the next time we come back here again, the semi-finals would be done. Probably the finals itself will be done.
All right, sure.
Let's take predictions. Let me take predictions of who is going to the final. Nigeria, South Africa. Who wins that game?
I'm going to go for Nigeria.
Nigeria, coach?
Nigeria wins.
Nigeria to win that game.
Win
Ivory Coast, DRC.
I'm expecting a surprise.
I don't know.
I'm actually.
So DRC to shock Cote d'Ivoire?
I see DRC to shock Cote d'Ivoire.
Cote d'Ivoire, Nigerian final.
Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria final. That will be an AFCON classic.
Zaidu Sanusi has to be better for the Nigerian team.
Zaidu Sanusi.
His crosses are just hopeless.
He doesn't.
What is wrong? And sometimes it's like he loses focus on the game.
And Calvin Bassey comes and crosses one ball, and you see such a stark difference. He looks busy in the matches though, so I'm sure the coaches like him. The next time we'll come back, we'll see if Dennis and coach got their predictions right. The AFCON semis really should be a good spectacle for all of us. We'll come back here and break it down for you the next time we're here. My name is Benjamin Nketia. Thanks to Coach Christopher Nimi, thanks to Dennis Nyako, and thanks to all of you out there for texting into the show and for joining us to make this one a wonderful experience. Same time next week, Scorecard will be back on your screens.